Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and good evening, all dear viewers. Welcome to my show, Sports Talk. This is your host, Hussein Mahmood, bringing you live debates on UC TV. Many thanks for all your support and encouragement thus far. Please continue to like, share, comment on the media content and subscribe to UC TV for ongoing notification and progress updates. With great relief, our country is now out of lockdown, but we are still in tiers 1, 2 and 3. Looks like we're in tier 3 in this part of the country, which means we must continue to take the necessary precautions and stay safe. As always, we all have a role to play in creating awareness and improving performances and developing our youth today, highlighting the need to adopt the right mindset, breaking the current mould and making the change happen. It's your host, Hussein Mahmood, holding the front line and being the voice for us all. I need you and we need the change to happen. Diversity, equality and a fair qualification system being my number one agenda. If you've just tuned in over the past few weeks, you will know I've picked up the classic Hawthorn League as a case study to understand what is happening on the grassroots level and what may well be hindering our superstars from breaking into top flight football. I will continue to focus and draw up our conclusions, as this was the first platform for British South Asians in Blackburn on the grassroots level. Since its birth to date, we now have 7 Asian teams playing over 4 divisions in now established Blackburn Combination League. Alongside myself today, bringing his views and insights, we have my guest on the show, an individual who as a boy came into this country in November 1967, aged just 5. Went to Lammock Primary School, Accrington Road, and then Mill Hill Junior School. Went to Witton Park High School for 6 years, leaving in 1979. Played football for Mill Hill, Witton Park and Blackburn College. Played grassroots football for 4 decades, beginning in 1978 until early 2000s. Started off playing in the Northwest Asian Pirate League, where there were teams from Accrington, Blackburn, Bolton, Preston, Bury and Manchester. One of the first Asian players in the Blackburn Combination League and definitely the first to play in the Ribble Valley League. Captained the side that reached 3 finals in 1984. First final played at a semi-professional ground at Great Harwood. Second played at Ewood Park, and the third final played at Deepdale, home of Preston North End. He's had trials for Pakistan national team and also won the Jhelum District Championship in Pakistan. He's done the FA Level 2 coaching, certified, and was a manager of Whalley Range Tigers under 14s team, which included his son and 3 nephews. Our very own special guest, packed with wisdom, Mr. Mohammad Ilyas, aka Lachi. So without further ado, let's bring in Mr. Ilyas and let's talk sports. Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Ilyas.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you, mashallah?
Alhamdulillah, yes, good.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for coming on to the show, Sports Talk, today with us.
My pleasure.
Fantastic. Sharing your insights. I'd love to hear what some of your experiences have been like over the years.
Yeah, not always pleasant, but yeah.
Well, let's dig a little deeper into that and let's find out exactly what's been going on so we can enlighten our youth today and hopefully avoid some of them pitfalls moving forward.
Okay.
Inshallah. Great. So firstly, am I okay to call you Lachi?
Yes, everybody else does.
So I'm okay to do that also?
Also, yeah. It was a nickname given to me when I was very, very young, and
well, I was going to ask. Yeah, it's a bit of an unusual nickname. Mm-hmm. What's the birth of it?
Right. Okay. Well, it pretty much coincides with me playing football around about the very first time. As you can imagine, in 1967, there weren't a lot of people my age. The people that I was playing with, I was 5, 6. The people that I was playing with were more or less 13, 14, so they were a lot older than I was.
Okay.
And I kept taking the ball off them and, running rings around them. And a good friend of mine, well, he later on became a very, very good friend of mine called Shamshad. he said, "What's this little white thing?" We all know what a lachi is. Yeah.
Yeah, we know what that Lachi is. Yeah.
It's basically a spice. It's about this big, and it's white. So he says, "What's this little white thing running around, dribbling us and taking the football off us?" And he says, "What's this little lachi here?" And to be honest with you, it just stuck.
It just stuck. And nicknames are terrible for that. They stick, don't they?
Yeah. To be honest with you, when everybody first kept calling me that, I got a little bit annoyed. But it's grown on me over the years, and mashallah, it's become my pachana. Everybody knows me as that. So yeah, why not? And it's quite unique. I don't know anybody else that's called Lachi. I'm called Big Lach, and there's a little Lachi as well. But that's because he's got a similar surname, and also he's a footballer, and everybody thinks he's my little brother, which I would be proud if he was,
there's a little Lachi here. You're the Big Lachi here,
Big Lach, yeah.
Yeah, we don't want too many Lachis in the dish.
No, but there's just the two of us as far as I know in the whole of the UK.
Great. So, Lachi, can you tell me, I mean, obviously, mashallah, alhamdulillah, you've come on some way now, we've had great experiences, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
You started in 1967 coming in as a young lad. So what are your kind of earliest memories of playing football, and what kind of motivated you to get onto a football pitch?
My earliest memories of playing football... we had a centre back called Brontosaurus.
Called what, sorry?
Brontosaurus.
Okay, yeah. Brontosaurus, is he?
Yeah, and a centre forward called T-Rex. And we had two wingers, the Raptor brothers, they were both our wingers. But yeah, all joking aside though, the first...
You had me there for a second.
Yeah, so the first memories of me actually playing football and my first football pitch, if you can call it that, was actually behind Alton Street, between Candle Street and Inkerman Street, and it's just a backyard. Now, I know it's just not me, I know with everybody, when you look back at things when you're a lot younger, everything seems a whole lot bigger.
Yes,
it does. A whole lot
does.
bigger. Yeah. I've been to this backyard now and it looks tiny.
Small, sure.
Small. Yeah. And I'm thinking we used to play 5-a-side, 6-a-side, 7-a-side, whatever numbers there were, we used to play them, and it used to seem huge at the time, but now I'm thinking, even 2-a-side's too much on there, but at the time it seemed absolutely huge. So those are my first memories of actually playing football, and that's where I got my nickname as well. And then...
How did that move over to like kind of grassroots and more competitive type football where it's...
Yeah, well, I'll come to that in a minute. Yeah. And then after that, I started school Lammock. Obviously, I didn't know any English. So I was, after about 4 or 5 months, I was packed off to Accrington Road School. Now, Accrington Road School was known as the Academy. Okay. It was to people who attended it anyway. The headmistress there, Mrs. Hamilton, could speak Urdu. Sure. She'd been in India and she could speak Urdu. And all the people who actually came to the country first off, they all went to Accrington Road School to improve their English, obviously.
Okay.
So all the, it was sort of Asian-only school by its very needs. But I was there for about a year. Now, at this age, when you're about 6 or 7, you tend to pick things up very, very quickly.
Yes.
And my English improved quite a lot.
Yeah.
And from then I was shipped off to Millhill Junior School.
Is that when you kind of got your English better and kind of
and
fit in the scene improved, kind of thing? Yeah, feeling more comfortable.
More comfortable with my English. Yeah. And when we went to Millhill School, our transport was that we used to have buses come to Alton Street outside what is now Rizwan food store. So there used to be buses going to Accrington Road School, there used to be buses going to Mill Hill School, there used to be buses going to Lammock as well, because there were still people going to Lammock as well. But that used to be more or less a bus depot for all because the Asians were mainly congregated around Alton Street and such. Yeah. And I remember when we used to go to Accrington Road School, our bus used to stop at Alton Street first, and then another pickup on Moss Street.
Okay.
So half the bus on Alton Street, and then half the bus on Moss Street.
So by the end you had a full bus?
Well,
Double-decker?
not a full bus, but yeah, about 25, 30 of us.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. And then we, like I said, moved into Miller School, and I got picked for the Miller Junior team.
Football team, right?
Football
okay,
team.
all right.
Okay.
How did they spot your talent?
Well, we just basically we were playing in the playground, and
You was one of the lads that got picked out.
And I was one of the lucky ones that actually got picked out. Now, our football ground at the time was behind Waterfall Mill, and it is an absolutely lovely ground that's still in use now.
Okay.
Griffin Park.
Yeah.
So that was
Grass.
Yeah.
Grass, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember I played 3 or 4 times. It was always after school, and we had a left winger called Gary, Gary Wild or Gary Wilder. I'm not quite sure of his surname, and his mum nicknamed me Pele.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a nice nickname to have on a football pitch.
It is. I'll be honest with you. It is a superb. To be compared to somebody like Pele. I don't think that had a lot to do with my football ability, though. I'll be honest. Mill Hill, they'd never seen an Asian person before. Not mind an Asian football player. They'd never seen an Asian person. And it was just after 1970, Brazil had just won the World Cup. The most famous footballer in the world was obviously Pelé.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was the only person playing off colour. So
right.
put 2 and 2 together.
Right, okay.
And you get Pelé. So yeah, I've been called Pelé when I was in junior school.
Okay, all right. So how old was you then?
I was about 11.
11. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Getting on a bit
10,
now.
10 or 11. Yeah.
What kind of feel did you get being called Pelé? I mean, did you associate it with colour, or were you associated, or were you under the pretense that it was my skill set?
To be honest with you, television's black and white, few and far between. My knowledge of football wasn't all that great. I'd heard of Pelé. I'd heard he was a really brilliant player, but that's where my knowledge ended. So to be called Pelé was absolutely brilliant. But like I said, I don't think it had a lot to do with my footballing ability.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I mean, after you finished, so from the age of 11 and 12 at the school level,
yeah.
How did you progress onto grassroots, or did you start playing on a Saturday league and a Sunday league?
No.
Was there a league around at that time to get involved?
Not that I was aware of. The only football that I played at the time was, like I said, behind Alton Street. That was our first pitch. What is now the mosque on Bicknell Street, that also became our pitch. We used the schoolyard for that. And then in 1972-73, I moved into Calder Street, and for the next 5-10 years, my football pitch was the Bangor Street School. It was a concrete pitch. We had lots of falls and ups and downs. But
lots of bruises, lots of cuts.
Yeah, lots of bruises, lots of cuts. And the idea of football then was to kick it as far as you can and chase after it. That's my background. But when I was in school, obviously, you have PE, you have games, lessons, etc. And I got picked for the school team. I was pretty good sportsman all round. Cricket, football, and I got picked for the school team. I played quite a few times in my first year, in my second year. In my third year as well. In my third year, as luck would have it, and it could have been very, very fortuitous for me, the Blackburn and Darwin coach was our PE teacher, Mr. Cameron.
Okay, all right.
So Mr. Cameron picked me for the Blackburn and Darwin youth team. Okay. Now, the football that I played for school was after school. There was I had to go to mosque. There was no way that I could miss masjid. If I missed masjid, I was going to be in a lot of trouble with my father, and that is something that you don't want to get into. You don't want
definitely not
get into trouble. There are fathers and there are fathers. My father's background was that he was a sergeant in the army, and he didn't take any prisoners. So the masjid was a mosque.
It's a priority, 100%.
Yeah, it was a priority. So when I played for the school team, I played after school. Sometimes I could get away with sneaking into the house, getting changed quickly and going to the masjid. Other times I get caught, get a rollicking from my father, and that'd be the end of it. But the Blackburn and Darwin youth team, the school team, used to play on a Saturday morning.
Okay.
On a Saturday morning is also madrasa time.
Yeah, yes, Urdu classes.
No, madrasa time. It was full time madrasa.
Full-time madrasa,
yeah,
okay.
five days a week, 5 and 7. 5 days a week, 5 till 7. Saturday morning, 10 till 12. The football coincided with that. Apart from the fact that I had no lift, I didn't know how to get to the ground, but the madrasa was there. The first time I tried to sneak out, my father called me, walloped me, and said, "Off you go to madrasa."
Putra.
Yeah. So, Putra, go to masjid. You're not ready for football.
Well, you say.
So the first time I played, like I said, well, I didn't play, and I got back to school the following week, and Mr. Cameron said, "Where were you on Saturday?" So as you do, instead of telling the truth, you make up excuses. So he picked me the following week, and the following week I was sneaking out, and my dad caught me. And the language and there were a few thumps in there.
The harsher this time.
Yeah, well, it wasn't just the language that was a bit harsher. There were a few thumps as well in there. After which, Mr. Cameron got really miffed at me. He thought I was messing him about. So when we were in his class, doing PE or we were playing football, he sort of started picking on me. So I stopped playing football. That was my response to it. At which time there was another PE teacher at the same time called Mr. Brownridge, and he started playing badminton. So I joined the badminton team, and I started playing badminton. Within 6 weeks, I was in the school badminton team as well. So it got from bad to worse. I was still getting into trouble at home. This time for playing badminton instead of football.
Yeah, well, Lachi, I've got to say, you've seen some of our shows.
Yes.
On Sports Talk, we've done 7 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
We've covered some key areas.
Okay.
And we're now obviously going into, for our viewers and the youth out there, and looking to progress and break the mould, making the change happen.
Mm-hmm.
That topic there, actually, is something that we picked up on episode 1, where myself and Khalid Isa, was discussing why we're not seeing British South Asians getting into top flight football.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons were parenting.
Yeah.
So, from what I'm gathering so far, Lachi, it's certainly taken its toll on you and your vision, your aspirations, and your dream to play football. And
okay, can I just? I understand where you're coming from, but I'm not entirely comfortable with this concept. Mainly because it's targeting our parents. Our parents did the very best they could for us. Okay. Not all parents are going to be right 100%, but their thoughts were always to do the best they could.
100%, I agree. Yeah, alhamdulillah, definitely, no doubt about that.
And to them, getting an education, getting ahead, making something of yourself was far more important than football. So I could understand from my own parents' point of view what their thoughts and what their ideas were. We didn't have. When I say a lot of sport, we didn't have any support at all when we were growing up. On the contrary, like I've just mentioned earlier, we were actually stopped from playing football. Football was, plus also the fact that my father had broken his leg when he was a lot younger, so that took its toll on him. And also the fact that somebody else within my community, an uncle of mine, had broken his leg and hadn't set properly, and he was still suffering. So playing sports, breaking legs, breaking bones was all part of it, and that was all sort of a negative image that my father had in his mind. To be honest with you, I've never blamed my father, and I think he did the very, very best that he could for us. And while his actions might not have been 100% in my favour, I understand perfectly well the reasoning behind it all.
Yeah, I actually agree with you, and I could appreciate your highlighting our father, well, your father, and up till our generation have pressed on educational. Islam is priority.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no excuses for missing.
There is actually a very funny story to this, if I can just get it in.
Yeah.
I was in 4th year in school, and I hadn't done my homework for a lot of the subjects. The reason why I hadn't done my homework was because I was lazy. Let's be honest. There's no excuses for it. I was just lazy. But when I got pulled up on it, you always make an excuse. And my excuse was, well, straight after school, I have to go to masjid for 2 hours. I'm in mosque between 5 and 7. My mind's battered. I can't concentrate anymore, etc., etc. They said, oh, well, that's the case. Then we'll call your parents in. So they called my parents in. My brother came. My father couldn't speak a word of English, so my older brother went with him to translate. And so they sat him down and explained that it was very, very important for me to do my homework and for me to actually get ahead in terms of what I needed to achieve. And they explained all this, and my father explained it all to my brother explained all this to my father. And my father listened to him, and he turned around and looked directly at the teacher, looked him in his eyes, and he said to my brother, whilst looking at the teacher, he said to him, tell the teacher that I will happily take my son out of school, but I will not take him out of the masjid. So, yeah. So from then on, I got a little bit of leeway in my homework. Let's put it
in your homework.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think the teachers realised as well they were fighting a losing battle.
Yeah, definitely. And that kind of brings me back onto it, Lachi, if I may. That our older generations, like you say, he was in the army. He was a sergeant, was he?
Yeah.
They were very strict.
Yeah.
Very, because
and to the point.
We were one of the first. You was one of the first of the generation to actually come to England and start to live and reside.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of uncertainty.
There was.
And I think taking any sort of risks at that time might have led to different paths that obviously are not suited to our moral Islamic values.
Okay.
Am I right in saying is that a fair statement?
That is a fair statement. There was a risk that if they were given their own headway, their own freedom, they will
lose their head, maybe.
Yeah, and because my father was one of the first people to actually arrive in England or in the northwest, and they were all single at that time. They weren't single, they were married in Pakistan, but here they were single. There were no women, there were no wives, there were no daughters, so they were all single. And a lot of those people had a lot of spare time. Obviously they go to work, but after that is spare time. And a lot of them were going out, clubbing, the pubs were always full, and they were full of, Asians, so there were a lot of people that were actually drinking at the time, and one or two of them actually took up English wives, girlfriends, etc. And some of them got married, and some of them just.
Would
had
you say that the notion and the kind of direction we're heading in that direction?
Well, there were to the people who'd been brought up conservatively, including my father. For them, it was alarm bells. Such and such has got a white girlfriend, he's getting married, and this, that, and the other. So, as far as they were concerned, and especially when the wives and the children started coming over, they wanted to keep us on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, of course.
We were more or less kept on the straight and narrow.
On that straight and narrow, avoiding all the pitfalls into the society.
And the other thing in all this is most of the Asian people who actually came at that time, and especially the Pakistani fraternity, were sort of semi-illiterate. They weren't. Not a lot of them were literate. They were going to work in factories, in textile mills.
Textile mills and stuff.
And you see, the more knowledge you have, the more learning you have, the more education you have, the more your mind expands.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
and the less learning, the less education, your mind can only see what it can see.
A tunnel vision, as such.
Yeah. That's no disrespect to our forefathers, but that's the way they were. And like I said, they did the absolute best that they could for us.
I totally agree, 100%. They did everything in their powers to convey the right message and keep us on Haq, Deen and the straight.
And the straight.
So just to finish on that point there, Lachi, I do want to go on to obviously your Ribble Valley League and your football on grassroots level, but would you say that now, just to summarise that, would you say that due to technological advances, culture, social and economical changes, that parents are a little bit more flexible and can allow that time to kind of parent or support the children in sports that they decide to take on?
Yes and no. They will happily send their children out, and they'll happily support them. They'll go there, they'll buy the football boots, they'll buy all the stuff for them, and they've done their part. I'm afraid it's not enough.
It's not enough, is it? Well, I was going to ask you that next, actually.
The thing is that I don't actually know where to begin with this. When I was running the under-14s team, which included my son, which included my brother's son, which included two of my sister's sons, it was a mixed team. It wasn't just Pakistanis or Pakistanis and Indians. It was a mixed team. It was made up of the particular area that I was in. I had 3 English lads playing for me. I had a Bengali player playing for me. A couple of Indians were in the squad as well, playing regularly. And out of all the training sessions we used to have twice a week, I insisted on having training sessions twice a week, on a Tuesday and a Thursday evening. The only people who actually turned up for the training sessions were Ken, because his son Barry was playing in the team, and a lad called John. His grandfather used to come and watch and see that everything was okay. And all that time I was there, not a single Asian parent was coming to support us or to say, how's my lad doing, or have a word with me saying, how's my lad doing, is he progressing or is he what? So I was getting absolutely no feedback from any of the parents. Obviously, with my own lot, I could give them feedback, but I was getting no feedback from the other parents.
So there's a communication gap there, a lack of understanding of an individual's development.
And I'm surprised because 2 of the players that actually played for me, Hashim and Thingies, their uncle actually played football with me, a lad called Muzaffar. He actually played football with me, so yeah. But it's not just that. Going on to that, moving on a little bit further, if the lads then start playing sort of at a higher level, that's when the mentality kicks in for the footballer.
As an individual?
As an individual.
So you're talking mindset here?
Mindset. Yeah. And the biggest thing is, like if you made it to a club, to us it's be all and end all. And so, they think they've actually made it. If I could just put a comparison on that, it would be like saying if a lad is chosen to go to medical school, he thinks he's made it. But that's the start of his hard journey.
Absolutely.
And we don't realise that.
It's the beginning. Yes.
Yeah. We think, we've been picked for a football team, and everybody thinks he's made it. He hasn't. That's the beginning of the journey.
That's the time the hard yards start.
That's when the hard yards start.
So it's our mentality in terms of getting to the club's front doors or past the front doors.
It
doesn't stop there, does it?
No.
That is the start.
But our mentality is we think we've made it once we get to that stage.
So we could now just sit back, relax and get fat.
Yeah. Basically, and we stop trying.
And stop trying.
We stop trying because we think we've made it. Instead of thinking this is the beginning of the journey, we think that's the journey's end.
Absolutely.
And I've seen a lot of footballers, a lot of young, talented lads actually go through this where they've gone and they thought, we've made it.
Yeah, that's it. I've got to stop you there. Thank you for that. I've got to stop you. We're going to take a short break, everybody. Stay tuned with us. We'll be right back. Assalamu alaikum, all dear viewers. Welcome back. It's your host Hussein Mahmood presenting live on UCTV. Today we have with us Mohammad Ilyas, aka Lachi, and we're just picking up on some of his experiences that he's had previously. Lachi, you mentioned some obviously parenting side of it. Can I just talk into what happened when you went into the Ribble Valley League? Because you was definitely one of the first players.
Okay. Before I get into that, I just want to finish off what I was saying about our children, obviously as well. The other thing that we have with our children, once they start making it a little bit, we get a lot of hangers on, and
get a lot of
hangers on.
Right, okay, sticking around.
Yeah, the people who want to hang on to their coattails and somehow
squeeze through.
The other thing is we don't like being criticised, but how can you improve? I've always said when I was running the teams that criticism and praise are the two sides of the same coin. Yeah, you're very good at taking praise, but you also have to listen when somebody criticizes you. They're not criticizing you for the sake of criticizing you. They are criticizing you because they want to see an improvement. Okay. Now, when they get back into their mates and they get back into their peers, and this obviously is human nature to start complaining and saying, "Oh, he picked on me for this and he picked on me for that," and like I said, the hangers on and the fair weather friends, they will say, "Oh, what does he know? And he's out of order and this, that, and the other." The most important thing is to actually listen to your coaches, listen to what he's saying. There might be a technical glitch there. You might need to work on your fitness. So those are all things that the coach is pointing out to you. And a lot of them get frustrated because they're banging their head against a brick wall. They're saying something to them week in, week out, but it's not going in. The other thing is we don't have a lot of role models. There's no peer support out there. Hopefully, inshallah, if in the next few years they actually start making it through to the leagues, then we'll have a lot more peer support and people who've been through the system, and they can actually take these young lads to one side and say, you know what, just hang in there. I know it's difficult, but you'll get through it. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Most
definitely. I take a great note from that, i.e. criticism and praise. You've got to treat them the same. There's two sides of the same coin. So if you're getting criticised, you need to start asking why and start working and developing them areas, because that really is what we need to work on. So actually, I'm really intrigued to find out how you made it to being one of the first Asian players in Ribble Valley League.
Well, before that, I started playing in, obviously, the Blackburn Combination League. That was a bit of a journey. We played in the Pirate League. We played as much as we could. Some interesting stories there, some great characters. I have to mention Imam. He passed away while in his mid-30s. Best footballer I've ever played with. The most skillful footballer I've ever played with. He didn't look much like a footballer. He was overweight, but he had bags of skill. He had absolute bags of skill. And I remember the day he got married. We're set on stage, and we've got a football match. It's a Sunday, about 1 o'clock, 1:15, and we've got a football match to go to. And Hadi on my right hand side, and Iqbal, they started counting the players that we have, and we stopped at 10. And Imam's going, and we said, oh, okay, Imam, don't worry about it. So then we started counting the players again, and we got to 10, and we couldn't come up with an 11th player. And Imam's going, We counted for the third time, and Iqbal says, right, okay, you're coming with us. So on his wedding day, we dragged him off the stage to a football game. So, yeah.
Great teamwork.
To be honest with you, his mum wasn't best pleased with this. Yeah. So
Did he get home all right without any injuries?
Yeah, well, we made sure that he weren't going to get injured, So, yeah.
Right, so,
he was great.
Did he also play in the combination league?
He didn't know.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
So you yourself played in the combination league. Probably one of the first Asian players to play in the combination league.
Yeah, but before I get on to that, the Pirate League was absolutely brilliant. We had no changing room. We had no facilities. We used to get changed outside, and if it was raining, we'd pick the nearest tree and get changed under the tree. And
you guys, youth, you're lucky. It's a lot better today.
And sometimes it was absolutely lashing it down, And in winter, none of us had our shoelaces tied because we couldn't feel our fingers. Our fingers and thumbs were absolutely numb, so we couldn't tie our shoelaces. So we used to play with open shoelaces.
It was that bad, was it?
And the referees, bless them, they weren't paid. They were all volunteers, and their knowledge of football was
limited.
Let's put it. Limited is, I think, is a kind
generous.
Word. Yeah, is a kind word. But I remember the first season that I actually played for Billinge. We got to a final. We won 4-3 in the final. Imam scored, Muzaffar scored, I scored, and our great mentor Iqbal, he scored, and we won 4-3. But the final was great, but it was actually the semi-final. We were playing a team from Bolton called Emmanuel. We were up at Shadsworth, and we were drawing with them 2-2, extra time. We bring our sub on, Iftikhar. Now, Iftikhar is very, very aggressive, for want of a better word.
Hot-tempered.
Yeah, 5 minutes into extra time, there's a ball being played back to the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper picks the ball up, and a full 5-6 seconds later, Ifti kicks him straight in the chest.
In the chest?
Yeah. And because he stooped down to pick the ball up.
Oh, right, okay.
And Ifti's gone and kicked him. Okay.
Just a hot-tempered move.
Yeah, just to let him know that he was actually playing in a game. So, about second half of extra time, the ball broke, and it was a 50-50 ball between the goalkeeper. If anything, it was 70-30, the goalkeeper's ball. Ifti's heading down for him, looking him straight in the eye, he's heading down for him, and the goalkeeper looks at Ifti, looks at the ball, moves out of the way, and Ifti rolls the ball into the net. And that's how we got into the final.
3-2 then?
Yeah, 3-2. We got into the final.
That's one way of doing it.
which we won 4-3. Talking of which, Pirate League, Imam scored. I've mentioned Imam before. He scored an absolutely brilliant goal. Picked the ball up from just inside our own half, weaved his way through the entire Preston North End defence. Must have taken about 6 or 7 people on. Rounded the keeper, slotted the ball into the net, and the linesman flag went up.
No.
And it was choked off. Seriously, it was choked off. And it was 0-0 until about the 89th minute. But the winning goal, was even more magical.
From Imam again?
No, this is my big mate Haji. He was playing centre forward. At that time, you could pass the ball back.
You're a winning team now, by the way. You got Haji, you got Imam. So
yeah, and we got the ball was played back 50-50, by their defence, back to the keeper. soggy pitch, and the ball stopped. Hadji's going for the ball. Full tilt, Hadji's going for the ball. Yeah. The goalkeeper's come out, realised the ball's not going to come into his area. He steps outside his area, plants his foot through the ball as hard as he could, and Hadji's rushing onto the ball. Catches Hadji squarely between the legs. The ball sails over both their heads into goal. We were celebrating like mad. We thought, come on Hadji, what a brilliant goal. And he said, just get the F off me, I can't feel anything. So we took him off. But even now, me and Hadji, sometimes we go to Pleasington, that's where the game was played. And every time we go past that pitch, he still winces. And I look at him and I think, yeah, Hadji, bad memories.
Still feeling that moment.
Yeah, that was painful.
So, Lachi,
Yeah.
I mean, can I just ask, I mean, I'm really I'm intrigued to find out here, because there wasn't many players at the time when you started playing in either the combination league or on grassroots level.
Yeah.
You guys must have been one of the firsts, right?
Yes.
I mean, coming into the UK, you're a young lad, you're one of the first in the football pitch. Football is predominantly like an English sport, so we're one of the first kind of British South Asians coming to play the sport.
Right, okay. So the Pirate League was an Asian league. There was no white people.
Oh, right, okay, the Pirate League.
In the Sunday League that we played, it was the Pirate League, and there was no white people playing in that league.
How many teams were in that league?
Like I said, there were 3 teams from Blackburn.
Right. Okay, you Preston.
2 teams from Bolton, one from Preston, one from Accrington, one from Manchester, one from Bury. Bury was the Darul Uloom team, and I remember having a fight with them, and it was a standoff. It was the whole Darul Uloom against the 12, 13 of us. But yeah, it was a standoff. Again, fond memories. It was then I picked up the paper one day and. There was an advert there, Brinskull. There's a team called Brinskull. They're looking for players, and they're having trials. And okay.
So this was the Blackburn team, was it?
Yeah, this was they played in the Blackburn combination, but Brinskull, which I found out later, to my cost, is not actually in Blackburn. It's more Chorley than Blackburn.
Right, okay.
So at that time I couldn't drive, I couldn't do anything else. So just to have this trial, I went all the way over to Brinskull, caught 2 buses, got there, had a trial. On the way back, it was like very, very dark, and I'm thinking, no, this is not worth it. So the following week I picked up the paper, I was reading the paper all the time, and there was another advert there for combination team called Mill Hill Hotel, and they were looking for players as well. So I went to their trial, and their trial was held at St Francis Pitch, which is just behind Witton Park, on the other side. And while I was there having trials with them, they looked at me and they thought, oh, who's this lad? Where's he come from? Because obviously I had no background or anything. I couldn't tell them I played at this level.
Yeah, no reference. Yeah.
No references or anything.
Just had to turn up. Really,
and I just turned up and we played and thought, okay, But there was somebody watching, and he approached me later and he goes, "What's your name, by the way?" And told him my name, obviously. Mohammad Ilyas. He said, "Well, that's a bit of a mouthful. Do you mind if I call you Mo?" I said, "Fine, go ahead." So he says, "Mo, what are you doing wasting your time with these losers?" I says, "Well, what do I do? I don't know anything about football. I wanted to get into a team." And he says, "Look, we've just started a team this year. We have a first team. We're called Mill All Boys. We have a first team. We've just started the reserves this year and we're looking for players." Fine, okay. What do I do? So he said, by which time he says, "Look, the first game is next week and I want you to turn up to Pleasington and, sign on for us." Sign, happy days. So I turned up the first week and we started playing. So there's about 14 white faces and me. He put me into this team straight away, which I found was amazing. And I stayed in the team. ever since after
As
that.
a first player, yeah?
As a first team player.
Do you mind if I just hang about in this subject for 1 second, Lachi, because this is really what interests me greatly, because I want to see what the disparity is between then times and now times and what we can learn in between.
Yeah.
What kind of feel did you get? Were you feeling as part of the team, or did you feel as though you have to do something extra to get comfortable?
Right.
Or were you on the outside? Were you kept on the fence? Or
Okay, first of all, I'm going to take it to the other side. Yeah. When I started playing for Daisyfield, our team was all Asian, obviously. But then we started introducing white players. Derek Eastham came along, Joe Moores came along, there was a guy called Darryl Fish, Phil Curry, our goalkeeper. So we started introducing English people into our team. Now,
integrating
into our team. Now, the same thing applied to them as it applied to me, yeah, in that they had to be better than the guys that they were replacing. So for me to actually get into the Mill Hill team, I had to be better than what was available at the time.
So that position.
For that position. And to be honest with you, I played 2.5 years for Mill Hill and absolutely enjoyed every single second of it. Your second question, was I made to feel part of the team? Absolutely. Once you go out there on the pitch, you're a band of brothers. It doesn't matter about the colour of your skin. It doesn't matter about your background. You are part of that team. You are a band of brothers. And I've had people, obviously the opponents, the opposing team was always going to give me stick about, you Asian this and you black this and the other as
the opposition. That's obviously to hurt your ego, demoralise you, so you're not playing the level of football you play.
Yeah, but at the time though, that was part and parcel. It's frowned upon now, but at the time it was part and parcel. But my teammates absolutely stood up for me, and they absolutely backed me to a hilt. There were times when. I remember a particular match. I was playing at the back, obviously, and their centre forward kept calling me a packy and this, that, and the other, and whatever have you. And Nobby says to me, he was all right back at the time. This is Nobby. Nobby said to me, he said, "Mo, are you going to do something about this effort, or am I going to do it?" And I says, "Nobby, don't worry about it. I've got it under control. Just watch." So a corner came and I went, because obviously being a centre off, you go up for corners. So I went up for the corner, and the centre forward that I'd been marking, he lagged behind, and he thought, okay. So I said to him, I said, "Come on, are you not going to come and mark me? It's a corner for us." He said, "Yeah, of course I am." So he drops up behind me. And
is this the same guy who's been giving you
he's been giving me verbals all game,
So this was your moment.
Yeah. So a corner came, and we had this routine worked out on the corner, and I'd take a few steps. The ball was going to be aimed at me because I was fairly good in the air, and the ball was going to be aimed at me. And the way we worked was I took a couple of steps and then stopped. I fainted, and then had a run at the goal. So when I did this, I took a couple of steps, stopped, and obviously he was right behind me. He stopped as well. But then I got into my stride. And I got going.
You got that yard ahead of him.
And I got a yard ahead of him. And as I went up for the ball, I met it absolutely clean, straight on my head. I scored, but I had my arm up here. And as I scored, I brought my arm back, knowing full well he was right in my radar. Caught him, flush on the nose, broke his nose. He was out clean. The referee obviously saw me head the ball, saw it was a goal, gave the goal. Restart, and as I'm trotting back, Nobby says, "Mo, you're the man. You're the man." So that's my teammates. Like I said, once you're into a team, they will treat you as one of their own. There is no way that you're different to them. You are a band of brothers. When you're out there, you're part of the team. I played for Mill Hill Old Boys. I used to walk through Mill Hill to White Bull pub That's where we used to meet.
At them times.
And Brown
It was
Camp.
very
At that
different.
time.
Yeah, at Millhill, it was very different at that time. He was probably the only one to walk through.
Well, yeah. Another time when I was playing, I remember there were maybe 3 or 4 of us that were actually playing in the Blackburn combination, and I like to name them just for posterity. There was Mohammad Kabari. He was playing for Mullards. There was a guy called Iqbal. We called him Ricky. He was playing for Netlon. And Farooq Dalal, Faz, he was playing for Mellor. And coincidentally, we both started off in the 5th division, me and Faz. We were the champions that year. Mellor came runners-up, so we both got promoted. And we played each other again in the 4th division. Again, we were the champions and Mellor were the runners-up. And we headed into the 3rd division.
Okay, all right, great stuff there, Lachi. I just want to go kind of summarise that, if I may, that whilst there is this stigma, dogma around the football game in terms of our British South Asians, from what I'm gathering from you, it's the case of ignoring that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a case of looking past that, believing in the individual, your own abilities,
yes.
and to prove to the rest of your band of brothers that you belong in this team.
Yeah.
And as long as you continue to perform. And outclass and keep hitting the goals in that back of the net or whatever position you're in, you keep producing results.
As you grow older, you have coping mechanisms, and to me, my coping mechanism, and it's going to be vastly different today, and I applaud the people who've made this happen, and their coping mechanism is going to be absolutely different. Hopefully they don't have a coping mechanism anymore, because if there's racism, the referee is going to cut it out, or the manager is going to cut it out, or you can complain to somebody.
So the players don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, but at our time, my coping mechanism was that I treated it simply as that's because I'm different, they'll pick on me. In that sense, that if somebody's fat, somebody's going to call me, they're going to call them fatty. You know, if somebody's short, they're going to call them shorty. If there's somebody, who's really, really tall, they're going to call them lanky. So to me, my coping mechanism was that because I'm different from them, they're going to pick on me, and they're going to pick on.
They're going to say something. It's nothing personal as such.
So it wasn't.
Nothing to hurt you as a person as such.
There were some. When I was playing, and I've played for a lot of English teams. Let's be honest, and. For a lot of them, I was the only Asian player. I know Sid played for Millhill Boys as well for 1 season. But for a lot of the times I actually played for English teams, I was the only Asian there. And honestly, I was always made to feel as part of the team. There was never...
That's
ever
really good news, that is.
But there was a time when I had criticism from my own teammates, but they were... people, and I got, and that was racist, but the only reason why that was because I was keeping that person out of the team. So
it's more of a jealousy type.
Yeah, it was more criticism.
Not targeted at you,
not targeted to me as an individual, but because I was keeping them out of the team.
You were keeping your position.
So the only thing that they could see was the colour of my skin.
And so when somebody's frustrated, generally they're going to say anything.
And that was. But I played for Millhill Boys. I played for Plaintree. I played for Beechtree. I played for St Matthews. Played for Queen's Park Workingman Club. The latter two were both 7-a-side. The first 3 were 11-a-side. But I played for a lot of English teams, and and to be honest with you, we used to mingle as well. We used to socialise before and after games. And it was a standing joke. I've never ever drank in my life. All the time that I've played for English teams, I've never, I've never drank.
Got onto that side of the football culture.
Yeah, I've never gone onto that side of the culture. So it was always a standing joke. As soon as I entered the pub,
do you want to drink? What you having?
There was the landlord, obviously, because they sponsored the team. The pub, Whitehall sponsored the team. So as soon as I walked in, the landlord would be there. Oh, all right, Mo, is it Coke? And as a joke, I would say, yeah, on the rocks, please. So afterwards, they got to that and, right, okay, Mo, so it's Coke on the rocks, is it? Yeah. So, yeah. And the other thing is, they were always paying for me, they've got their round in. Mo, are you having another Coke? Yeah, go on then. And there's only so much Coke you can drink anyway, you know, you've drunk so many times. But it was always, but they would never let me, your Coke, and I'm going back a few days now, you know, a few years, your Coke cost 10p, our pints cost about 87p. There's no way you're getting around it. But I'd always be included in the rounds.
Yeah, so you're always made to feel a part of the team.
Part of the team, yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to kind of summarise that to our viewers, because a lot of that experience coming from 1967 and up to 2000.
Yeah, this is more in the 80s.
So obviously you're coming in at 1967, started playing around about the 1980s, and then kind of played a full two decades on grassroots level. Mm-hmm. And it is a gentleman, our Lachi, our very own special Lachi today, telling us his experience, and he's not experiencing anything that's out of the ordinary. So I would like to emphasise on that point is that we are limiting ourselves. We're limiting our own potentials by picking a backdoor exit and saying that this has happened and that has happened. I'm really
at this point. Can I just cut in? I think that's a ready-made crutch for us to fall down on, and honestly, I don't agree with it.
We need to think above that. We need to think past that.
We need to think past that.
And there is support available for us.
And there are plenty of Muslim players in the league now, albeit from the African countries, from the Egyptian countries. Mohammad Salah is a brilliant role model for us. I hate Liverpool with a passion, yeah. But Mohamed Salah is a brilliant role model for us. So is Sadio Mane. You know, there are role models out there. Yaya Toure. You know, we've got Paul Pogba. He's Muslim. You know, so we've got role models. We just need to break through and stop leaning on this crutch that because we're not good enough, it's because we're Asians or because we're Muslims. It's not because of that.
Or they won't let us in, or there's an unfair qualification system, or diversity doesn't exist. From this show, and from what I'm getting from Lachi today, is none of that exists. What we should be concentrating on is our own development.
It does exist, but we've amplified it in our minds and in our thoughts. And when we talk to each other, we've amplified it 100-fold. It does. Obviously, there is, by nature, if you're different by nature, there will either be, there are three kinds of people. People who will accept you, people who reject you, and people who want to fight against you. I believe the vast majority of people out there are good people and they will accept you. Managers don't want to spend millions and millions, it's hundreds of millions of pounds nowadays, to sign players from other leagues. They're homegrown players. I mean, what price could you put on somewhere like Paul Scholes now? So would Alex Ferguson want to go out and pay maybe £500 million nowadays, you know, to buy that when somebody like that's going to walk through his front door and get through,
through the academy, through the ranks.
Through the academies, through the ranks, and make it through the first team. What price would he put on Paul Scholes? What price would he put on Ryan Giggs? What price would he put on David Beckham now? You know, and these are all players that have come through the academy. And that also shows who I support as well, by the way. So that's great. So although our show and my show is about sports talk and why we're not seeing British South Asians getting into top flight football, I could tell you from this show today that whilst it might be this outside agenda, outside restrictions and parameters for us, I think we're going to take a word from Lachi's dictionary here. We are emphasising that and putting too much attention on a backdoor exit. I think we need to focus on our 1 to 5 episodes on Sports Talk. Check them out, they're on demand, and it's all about parenting, attitude, diet, lifestyles. Each show is dedicated to each part of the game. So can I just leave with one final note?
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you one more question, please, Lachi, before you do.
Before that,
okay,
when we're finishing off this topic.
Yeah. Okay.
One final thought that I want to say is the example I made about getting into medical college. You made it into medical college. That's where your hard work starts. So if you make it into a football team, that is when your hard work starts. You've got to listen to your coaches. You've got to listen to the people around you. Don't let the hangers-on influence you. And if you're being criticised, take that criticism on board and work out how you can improve.
MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. That's a fantastic piece of advice. There's a guy who's obviously been through it for a number of decades, played on grassroots levels right across all different teams, all different type of structures, and made it through. And there's the advice for you. If you're having and seeing that there's hanging on us, or people that are just hanging around, then you need to step up. If you're getting criticised, you need to take your pen and paper out and write everything that's going down and how you are being perceived as a player, and start to tackle each and one of them areas. What you're good in, you're good in. What you should be focusing on are what the areas that we're not so good in is what we call the SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. That's what we should all come together, and all this team and neighbours, friends, coaching staff, everyone is a sport network. Find your place within it. Mr. Mohammad Ilyas, aka Lachi, I want to take this moment right now to thank you so very much for coming on to my show, Sports Talk, at UCTV Live.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. It's an absolute pleasure. If this show was going on for 2 hours, actually, I could tell you I've got a whole lot more questions for you.
I've got a whole lot more to tell you, to be honest with you.
Unfortunately, once again.
Yeah, we've not touched on the seven-a-side leagues and the Hawthorns League, etc. You know, so.
Yeah, and
I was part of the Hawthorns League.
The combination league.
Yeah.
So, inshallah, our next guests we'll go into the Hawthorns League and the combination leagues a little bit more in detail. So please do stay tuned with us. Next week we have our show on a Monday. Our next show is actually on a Monday at 7:30 coming up, and then subsequently we'll be changing our show to a Monday 7 p.m. thereafter. Please stay tuned with us, like, share and comment on all media content. It's your support that we need. We will be breaking into top flight football, and it's your host Hussein Mahmood bringing you live debates, hot topics on UCTV. Stay tuned Monday 7:30.